Imagine you're in a courtroom, a hospital, or an HR office, places where decisions significantly impact lives. Now imagine that two judges give wildly different sentences for the same crime, or two doctors propose conflicting diagnoses for identical symptoms. Why do these inconsistencies happen? Noise explores the hidden flaw in human judgment, revealing how random variability, different from bias, leads to errors across industries and decisions. This isn't just a problem for professionals, it's a universal issue that affects fairness, accuracy, and trust in society. If you like this video, don't forget to support the channel by liking and subscribing. Stay tuned for some additional book recommendations with similar insights at the end. Noise: A Flaw in Human Judgment by Daniel Kahneman, Olivier Sibony, and Cass Sunstein. Understanding noise. The book define and explain the nature of noise, contrasting it with bias. What is noise? Noise refers to variability in judgment that shouldn't exist. It's the random fluctuations in decisions when the same inputs yield different outcomes. For example, two judges might give dramatically different sentences for identical crimes, or two doctors might recommend entirely different treatments for the same symptoms. This randomness undermines the consistency and fairness of decisions, leading to inefficiencies and distrust. Noise versus bias: the hidden problem. While bias is a systematic error pushing judgments in one direction, noise is the scatter, random and unpredictable. Imagine an archery target. Bias is when arrows consistently hit the wrong spot, while noise is when arrows land all over the target. Noise is harder to detect and address because it's less visible than bias, yet it often causes as much damage. Noise exists everywhere. Noise isn't confined to any single field. It exists in medicine, law, business, hiring, policing, and even everyday decisions. For example, studies have shown that underwriters at the same insurance company often quote widely different premiums for identical cases. This variability can cost organizations millions and damage customer trust. The cost of noise. Beyond financial losses, noise reduces efficiency, undermines trust, and creates a perception of arbitrariness. For instance, if employees feel that performance reviews are inconsistent, they may disengage, leading to lower morale and productivity. The authors emphasize that recognizing and measuring noise is the first step toward addressing it. Bit to remember: noise scatters judgments like static on a radio. To make better decisions, we first need to tune it out. Types of noise. Not all noise is created equal. Kahneman and his team break it into three distinct types. Level noise. Judgment thresholds. Level noise happens when different decision-makers consistently produce higher or lower outcomes for the same input. For instance, one judge might be significantly harsher in sentencing than another, or one doctor might overprescribe medications while another takes a conservative approach. This creates systemic inconsistencies that are unfair and often unnoticed. Pattern noise, individual styles and quirks. Pattern noise stems from personal differences in how individuals approach specific cases. For example, two hiring managers reviewing the same candidate might reach opposite conclusions based on subjective preferences or unconscious biases. One might value creativity, while another prioritizes punctuality, leading to wildly different evaluations. Occasion noise, random external factors. Occasion noise arises from situational influences, such as the time of day, weather, or even hunger. For instance, judges are statistically more likely to grant parole after lunch than before. illustrating how trivial factors can sway serious decisions. Similarly, hiring decisions made late in the day may be rushed or less thoughtful due to fatigue. The interplay of noise and bias. Noise often amplifies the effects of bias, compounding the harm. For example, in a biased system favoring lighter sentences for certain groups, noise can create further discrepancies, making the system even less fair. Addressing both noise and bias is crucial for improving judgment and fairness. Bit to remember. Noise isn't one size fits all. It's a mix of systemic gaps, personal quirks, and external influences. The widespread impact of noise. The consequences of noise are felt across industries, with significant repercussions for individuals and society. Law, unequal sentences. Noise in the legal system creates glaring inconsistencies. Studies reveal that sentences for similar crimes vary wildly depending on the judge, time of day, or jurisdiction. This randomness undermines trust in the justice system, eroding its legitimacy. For example, a defendant might receive probation from one judge, but a year in prison from another for the same crime. Medicine, diagnostic chaos. Noise in healthcare leads to diagnostic errors that harm patients and increase costs. For instance, two radiologists might interpret the same X-ray differently, leading to conflicting treatments. This variability not only affects patient outcomes, but also creates inefficiencies in an already strained system. Business, inefficient processes. Noise in hiring, performance evaluations, and pricing decisions causes financial losses and organizational inefficiencies. For example, inconsistent hiring processes may result in unqualified candidates being chosen while strong candidates are overlooked, ultimately impacting team performance and morale. Society. Trust erosion. When systems fail to deliver consistent outcomes, public trust diminishes. Inconsistent policing, for instance, can alienate communities and fuel social unrest. Similarly, noisy bureaucratic decisions create frustration and a sense of injustice, weakening societal cohesion. Bit to remember. Noise doesn't just hurt organizations, it ripples through society, breaking trust and fairness. Reducing noise. The authors offer practical strategies to mitigate noise and improve decision-making. Noise audits, finding the static. Conducting noise audits involves evaluating the consistency of decisions by having multiple decision-makers assess the same cases. By identifying areas of variability, organizations can pinpoint and address noisy processes. For instance, an insurance company might discover through an audit that its underwriters vary significantly in quoting premiums. Decision hygiene. Cleaning the process. Decision hygiene refers to strategies that reduce variability in judgment. Standardizing processes, using structured checklists, and implementing guidelines ensure consistency. For example, hospitals using checklists for surgical procedures significantly reduce errors, demonstrating how small steps can have a big impact. Algorithms as allies. Algorithms and data-driven tools can help reduce noise by offering consistent recommendations. For example, predictive models in credit scoring eliminate subjective judgments, ensuring fairer outcomes. However, the authors caution against blindly trusting algorithms without oversight to avoid introducing new biases. Training decision-makers. Educating people about noise and its consequences helps them recognize and address their own inconsistencies. Workshops, feedback sessions, and simulations can improve awareness and decision quality. For instance, judges can be trained to recognize the effects of occasion noise, such as how their energy levels might influence sentencing. Bit to remember. Fighting noise requires vigilance, structure, and a willingness to refine decision-making processes. If you enjoyed this summary, check out the following books: Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman, Nudge by Richard Thaler and Cass Sunstein, Predictably Irrational by Dan Ariely, Super Forecasting by Philip Tetlock and Dan Gardner, The Black Swan by Nassim Taleb, Factfulness by Hans Rosling,